So how do you take a 112-year-old giant of the sea and completely turn it around? Today, we're diving into the incredible story of Maersk, one of the world's oldest, biggest shipping companies, and how it pulled off one of the most ambitious corporate makeovers of the 21st century.
It all started with a pretty brutal truth. In 2016, Ulf Hannemann was the incoming Chief Human Resources Officer, and this is what he found. Not just, mild dissatisfaction. He found that customers passionately hated the company they were supposed to be serving. This wasn't just a small crack in the hull. This was a full-blown crisis. And if you want to see that crisis as a single number, here it is, -30. That was Maersk's Net Promoter Score, or NPS, back in 2016. Now, NPS is basically the gold standard for measuring how much your customers like you, and it ranges from -100 to +100. A score of -30? That is absolutely catastrophic. It means for every one customer who is happy, you had a whole bunch more who are actively telling their friends and colleagues to stay far, far away.
So what on earth was going so wrong? Well, by 2016, Maersk wasn't just a shipping company. It had become this sprawling, messy conglomerate with its hands in everything from shipping and oil drilling to banking. The problem was, the whole thing was adrift. It was unprofitable and it was bogged down by a culture that felt like it was stuck in a time capsule. And if you want to talk about unprofitable, just look at the bottom line from their income statement that year. You don't need to be an accountant to understand this. Just look at that final number, a net loss of almost $2 billion. The company wasn't just unpopular, it was literally bleeding cash.
The real root of the problem, though, was the culture. Maersk was this super traditional, hierarchical company. It was completely obsessed with its own internal rules and penny pinching, not with what its customers actually wanted or needed. We're talking strict dress codes, every decision coming from the top, a structure that was totally out of sync with a fast-moving, modern global economy.
Okay, so facing this total crisis, the board did something drastic. They brought in a new CEO, Soren Skue, and he charted a completely radical new course for the company. The plan? To tear down the old conglomerate and reinvent Maersk from just a shipping line into a modern, all-in-one, end-to-end logistics company.
And this slide really shows you just how massive that shift was. On the left, you've got the old Maersk, this disconnected tangle of different businesses. On the right, you've got the new vision, one single company, laser-focused on controlling the entire supply chain, from the moment a product leaves the factory to the second it arrives at your door. Their new heroes weren't other shipping companies. They were logistics powerhouses like UPS and FedEx. So how were they going to pull this off? Well, the engine room for this whole new strategy was a really powerful business idea, vertical integration. This became their secret weapon, the key to building a competitive advantage that their rivals just couldn't copy. So what is vertical integration? It's actually a pretty simple idea when you boil it down. It just means you own the whole game. Instead of just owning the ships, Maersk decided it needed to own the ports, the trucks, the warehouses, everything, including the tech that ties it all together.
And the beating heart of this strategy is APM Terminals, which is Maersk's very own port operator. See, by owning over 60 ports all over the world, Maersk can basically let its own ships cut the line, getting priority and slashing wait times. This control creates this seamless flow from the ocean to land, where everything is synced up with Maersk's own trucks and trains. And for the customer, what does that mean? It means fewer delays, way less complexity, and you get a single bill for the entire journey. That is a game changer.
But look, you can have the most brilliant strategy in the world, but if your people aren't on board, it's going nowhere. Maersk's leadership knew they couldn't just change the business model, they had to completely change the way their people thought, the way they acted, and how they worked together. And honestly, you don't even need me to explain this one. These two pictures say it all. On the left, that's the Maersk leadership team in 2016. It's very formal, very homogeneous, all guys in dark suits. Now look at the right. That's the team in 2023. It's diverse, it's more modern, it's more approachable. This isn't just a new team photo, it's a visual mission statement for a totally new company identity. They pulled this off through a bunch of really bold, symbolic actions that they called iconic moves. They pushed decision-making down from headquarters to the people actually talking to customers. They got rid of all the competing bonus plans and made one single system so everyone was pulling in the same direction. They literally threw out the old formal dress code overnight, and, in a huge signal of change, they marched in the Copenhagen Pride Parade. Each one of these moves was a deliberate break with the past.
All right, so after all that change, all that disruption, did any of it actually work? Let's take a look at the results, because they are nothing short of incredible.
Hey, remember that disastrous NPS score we started with? That -30? Well, by 2022, it had shot all the way up to a positive 33. That is a massive turnaround. It's stone-cold proof that by finally focusing on their customers, they didn't just win back their loyalty, they earned a whole lot more.
And what about the money, the bottom line? Well, on the left, there's that $1.9 billion loss from 2016 we saw earlier. Now look at the right, the result for 2022, a profit of over $29 billion. That's not just growth, that's a jaw-dropping historic financial comeback.
So, having fixed its profits and its relationship with people, the new Maersk is now taking on its next massive challenge, the planet. The company has made this really ambitious commitment to get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2040. Their plan to get there really boils down to two things. First, just being ruthlessly efficient, using technology and smart routing to burn less fuel. And second, and this is the big one, is a huge shift in what kind of energy they use. They're investing billions in a whole new generation of ships that can run on green fuels, like methanol. It's a massive bet on the future of sustainable shipping. Which leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. Maersk bet the farm on this idea of integration, this tightly controlled all-in-one model. But in a world that's constantly being rocked by pandemics and wars and supply chain shocks, is having control over everything the ultimate advantage? Or by tying its own fate so closely together, has it created one single massive point of failure? That is the multi-billion-dollar question that Maersk, and really the rest of global trade, is facing right now.